Hey everyone, welcome back to Hoopers Nation, your top destination for NBA basketball content. One of the greatest things about NBA basketball is that there's always surprises throughout the regular season. No matter how much you know about the league, it's inevitable that a couple of things you didn't expect actually end up happening, which makes basketball that much more exciting. And there are both pleasant and unpleasant surprises, as things can go surprisingly good or surprisingly bad. In this video, we'll take a look at the biggest surprises in the NBA halfway through the 2020-21 regular season. But before we do, please make sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on Hoopers Nation post notifications for more NBA content. When the Celtics reached last season's Eastern Conference Finals, many people assumed that Boston was all but guaranteed a spot in the NBA Finals. But oh surprise, the Miami Heat continued playing out of their minds and ended up beating them. Still, there was a ton of optimism on the Celtics' young duo of Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown, one that would also be surrounded by star point guard Kemba Walker and franchise mainstay Marcus Smart. But so far, Boston's season has been an absolute mess. Heavily affected by the lengthy absences of Walker and Smart due to injury, as well as limited by positive coronavirus tests throughout the season, the Celtics look like a far cry from the dominant force they were last season. The quartet of Walker, Smart, Brown, and Tatum has only played a total of 28 minutes this season. But that's not the only reason they're barely a 500 team. Walker has been very inconsistent in his post-recovery time. Brad Stevens looks a step behind with his game planning. Veterans Jeff Teague and Tristan Thompson have been disappointing in their roles. Tatum and Brown have often put up impressive first-half performances, only to disappear in the second period. All of this has led Boston to blowing multiple double-digit leads late in games and getting blown out in embarrassing fashion. The team is hoping to have Smart back by the time the season is resumed after the All-Star break, as they'll have about 2 months to fix their issues. Not everything has been a negative, though. The team is getting strong contributions from rookie Peyton Pritchard, as well as from young big man Robert Williams and Daniel Tice. They still have some time left to figure stuff out, but the clock is ticking. We've already touched on the Jazz's breakout in a previous video, so if you haven't watched that one, make sure to check it out as well. But in short, everything is flowing beautifully in Salt Lake City. It's funny because even when Utah holds the first seed in the Western Conference, when you look at the individual stat lines for players, nobody's numbers really stand out. They don't have any MVP candidates or superstar talent fueling their ascent. And while many people have been quick to compare these Jazz with the 2015 Hawks, a comparison with the 2014 Spurs might be way more accurate. It may seem premature to compare Utah with a Spurs team that ended up winning it all in the NBA Finals, but the fundamentals are all too similar. Excellent unselfish passing and ball movement, amazing accuracy from behind the three-point line, a top offense and defense, as well as the league's best net rating, and most importantly, continuity. The Jazz's record today isn't a byproduct of a major off-season addition last year. It's a result of what the team has been building for the past 3 to 4 seasons. Health has been a critical factor in the team's success as well, as missing Bojan Bogdanovic in the bubble last season really hurt them. But you can now see the team working like a perfectly well-oiled machine. As we said, they might not have a single MVP candidate, but they have a Defensive Player of the Year candidate in Rudy Gobert, they have a Sixth Man of the Year candidate in Jordan Clarkson, and they have a Coach of the Year candidate in Quinn Snyder. And as skeptical as you may be, you can't deny how impressive their collective work has been up to this point. Another player we touched on in a recent video was Zach LaVine, who didn't break out until he left the Minnesota Timberwolves. So if you haven't watched it, take a look at our Why Karl Anthony Towns Needs to Leave the Timberwolves video. Anyway, watching Zach LaVine explode this season just feels right. LaVine has gone from an inefficient guard to one of the most efficient players in the entire league. And even though he built a reputation for himself as one of the best dunkers in the NBA, he's way past that limiting tag. He's the best player on a rising team, and just earned his first All-Star nod. And even though the Bulls making a return to the playoffs appeared to be a couple more seasons away, LaVine has them in the fight. He's averaging career highs across the board, with 28.7 points, 5.2 rebounds, and 5 assists, while shooting 52.4% from the field and 44.2% from 3 on more than 8 attempts per game. These numbers are absolute madness, and it's really cool watching him rise up to this level. Chicago and their outdated system didn't appear to be the best place for him to make this jump, but changes to the front office and the coaching staff this past offseason have put him in a position to flourish. And if he manages to lead the Bulls to the playoffs, it'll make his season that much more impressive. Another young Eastern Conference breakout star is Julius Randle. He may be the most surprising All-Star selection from the 2021 pool, as it's safe to say very few people could have seen him playing this good, and even less people saw the Knicks returning to the playoff picture this season as well. Randle's averaging 23.4 points, 10.9 rebounds, and most impressively, 5.5 assists per game, all while shooting 48.3% from the field and a previously unimaginable 42% from behind the three-point arc on almost 5 attempts per game. He had shown some skills as a passer earlier in his career, especially out of the post, but we never saw him becoming a top big man facilitator. Also before this season, Randle was a 29.5% career shooter from deep, so we most definitely never expected him to shoot 40+% on career-high volume. Watching Knicks fans compare Randle to peak Chris Bosh is hilarious, and doing so is certainly premature. But let's have some empathy and try to stand in their shoes for a second. New York has been such a poorly run franchise and so miserable for such a long time that they deserve a break. Randle, following the leadership of new Knicks head coach Tom Thibodeau, has the Knicks with a positive record through the All-Star break and within reach of the playoffs. That deserves some major props. A player that's quietly having one of his worst seasons number-wise is Anthony Davis. Coming off the 2020 NBA championship, AD was expected to start taking the reins of the team while LeBron slowly took a back seat. But that hasn't been the case at all this far. Davis is averaging 22.5 points, the lowest since his sophomore season, 8.4 rebounds, the lowest since his rookie year, 1.8 blocks, also the lowest since his rookie campaign, and 71.5% from the free throw line, by far the lowest mark in his career. His three-point accuracy has also dipped back below 30%. Western Conference coaches still voted him as a reserve for the All-Star game, though he isn't playing because of a strained Achilles. Interestingly enough, the Lakers look like they've badly struggled without him. They went 1 for 4 in their first 5 games without AD, as they've mostly missed Davis's defensive presence. The team was the second seed in the West before his injury, and they'll most likely reclaim that spot once Davis returns. This may not be something to panic about in the long run. It's just been surprising to watch Davis have such a quiet season when he was expected to make that MVP-level leap after winning his first championship. Though if his numbers don't improve once he returns, the Lakers might be in deep trouble. The Nuggets were last year's revelation team, upsetting the LA Clippers in the second round of the 2020 playoffs and giving the Lakers a good fight in the West Finals. However, it appears as if the team got too complacent with the momentum they had built, because it's all gone just 2 months into the 2020-21 regular season. Other than Nikola Jokic playing at an MVP level, as he's nearly averaging a 30-point triple-double, everybody else has been wildly inconsistent. Jamal Murray's numbers are also pretty good, but Denver would be happy to have him consistently score 22 per game as his averages suggest, instead of 7 points on one night, then 50 in the next one. The supporting cast's contributions have been an absolute dice roll, and the team has suffered some catastrophic late-game meltdowns that have costed them multiple wins. In short, this does not look like the team who made it to the West Finals last year. Or to put it better, one night they do look like that team, and the next night they look like the Minnesota Timberwolves. They desperately need some consistency, as this is something the team has struggled with for multiple seasons by now. Having a player like Jokic has prevented this team from completely breaking down, and all we can hope for is the Nuggets figure out their struggles in the second half and return to their previous level. And those are all the biggest surprises in the NBA. Actually, hold on a second. At an earlier stretch of the season, the Nets could have very well made this list as a huge disappointment. But after an embarrassing loss to the Detroit Pistons, the worst team in the Eastern Conference, things have taken a turn for good. They won 8 straight games right after that loss in Motor City, despite playing most of those without Kevin Durant, who's out recovering from a hamstring injury. The reality is that it's looking like it'll be really tough to outscore KD, Irving, and Harden come playoff time, especially now that they've figured out their roles. We questioned rookie head coach Steve Nash's capability to manage so many big-game players, all of whom certainly possess big-time egos. And we almost got proven right. But he's apparently found out a great offensive balance for his team, and is still tweaking some details to make their defense as solid as possible. What's surprising about the Nets is how much they've gone through in the 2.5 months since the season started. They began hot, lost Spencer Dinwiddie for the season due to injury, then started experiencing troubles, traded their depth for James Harden, struggled a bunch more, lost KD for a stretch, and again figured out their latest issues. Who knows what else is yet to come before the playoffs, but what's for sure is that amid all of the turbulence, Brooklyn still looks like the favorite to come out of the Eastern Conference. And these have been the biggest surprises in the NBA. Which is the player or the team that has surprised you the most this season? Did we miss any other surprises from this crazy 2021 campaign? Make sure to comment your thoughts down below, as well as leaving a like on the video and subscribing to the channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.